From Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, Fred Lening. From Fresno, California, Big Bill Bunetta.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again here at the beautiful Emerson Lanes in the industrial city of Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. It's Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show. You see the world's greatest bowlers in action, over $75,000 in prizes. This is Fred Wolf. Two more of our great stars in action, 3 games, total pins, $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. Both these boys making their second appearance. All competition is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. 300 games worth $10,000. $250 bonus for 5 strikes in a row. In any one game, $50 more for every strike on top of those 5. This week, a couple of veterans, Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California, from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, Fred Lening. We'll be ready for the first game of 3 in just a short moment.
Ready for the first game. Fred Lening, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, lost the toss. Bill Bunetta wants to finish on the left. Lening starts on the left, leaves a 7-pin on what looked like to be a very good hit. Both competitors, a flip of the coin. The winner of the toss gets his choice of starting alley. Starting lane. Let's get with that. Bill Bunetta wants to finish on the left in both the first and third game. That puts Lening there in the first game. He covers the spare. All games starting on the left side. And here's Big Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California. Sitting in with us this week, Lee Juglard, better known as the Doctor of Bowling, senior member of the AMF staff. We'll see just how we come out. Bunetta throws. Then, boy, that ball didn't move a bit. The 2-4-5. A couple of very interesting styles this week, Lee. I'm sure that each boy has his own idea on how to throw that ball.
Yes, they both do, Fred, and they've both been varying quite a bit during practice. I think they have a lot of confidence now, but I noticed that Bill dropped that first ball, so this is likely to happen on the first one.
2-4-5. The exclusive AMF Sparemaker indicates the ball between the 2-5. Both boys with spares. Bunetta now moves to the left. Bill is a Detroit boy, born in Detroit. Gained some national recognition as a Detroiter. Moved to Chicago in '56, to Fresno, California in 1961. One of the real big fellas on the Professional Bowlers Tour. A real tough cookie. 10 pins stops him this time. For 21 games on championship bowling, Bunetta averaging 215. His high 3 games, 696. He has 2 257 games. Fred Lening for 9 games, averaging 209. His high 3, 685. At the 10-pin cross lane, Bunetta covers the spare. Here's a fella that hasn't been bowling too long. Actually, didn't start bowling until he was in his early 30s. Born back in 1922. Throws, look out, he's too high. Leaves the 3-pin. Fred, go ahead.
Fred came up pretty fast when he started coming. I didn't hear about him for quite some time, and then up he came out of nowhere. He's a real tough cookie under pressure.
Well, he told us in his first appearance, Lee, that he liked the game, so he just bought himself a bowling alley and started practicing.
That's a good way to start.
It's going to be an interesting question here, and I'm sure that the folks watching, Lee, because they're going to be able to hear Lening's ball occasionally roll over the thumb hole. So the question has got to be, does this affect the ball as it goes into the pocket?
At times it does, Fred, but there are times I've seen a ball that hits the pocket rolling over the thumb hole. It's still a real heavy ball.
There it is. You can hear it. Lening with a good lift, you won't hear it hit the thumb hole until just before it gets to the pins. And by that time, if it's in the right place, 16 pounds of Am-Flight Magic Line bowling ball going for you.
That's all
He's
it takes.
got what he wants. Bunetta a little soft. That's a couple of hits that just didn't seem to have much behind them as they went into the pocket. 2 10-pins in a row for Bunetta. Lening is on a strike in the third. Bill goes cross lane for this one. And I believe a little extra speed on a shot of this kind. That's the cover. So Bunetta moves to the left.
I think being a bowler has helped you too, Fred. I had an idea. You knew he was going to use more speed on that one.
Well, that's what they say. Cross lanes, you boys always give it a little extra to hold the ball on a straighter line. Bunetta in the fourth, looking for his first strike. He shot at 2 10-pins in succession. There's a good turn. Bill knew that was there. And again, as we have pointed out, Lee, over the weeks, these pros, like yourself, you more or less feel that it's a good ball the minute it leaves your fingers.
Yes, we know it, but sometimes it doesn't come too often, that feeling. We need a little more.
Big lift. There's the double. This fellow is known for really shaking them up, and it'll be interesting, too, as Lee has pointed out, a lot of boys wonder about this fella. Hasn't been in the game too long to be at the top star that he is, and this ball rolling over the thumb hole on a thin hit, he still gets tremendous action. We're in the fifth frame. Lening on 2. There's number 3. Oh, there was no doubt about that one. Now, Lening swung with a couple. That one was a line drive.
He reached out there with that one, Fred.
Bill Bunetta needs this one to stay within 10 pins of his opponent. Deep angle, he'll never make it. The 1-2. And ball seemed to be gone before Bill could do anything about it.
Well, I think Bill is playing that way intentionally on the right side. He doesn't want that ball to hook too much, and I think that he's letting it go before he gives it a good lift. It kind of backfired a little bit this time.
The 1 and the 2. Fifth frame. We're halfway in the first game. Lening working on 3 strikes with 39 in the second. Bunetta is 78 in the fourth with a spare in the fifth. There it is. It looks like Bill has quite an angle on the left side. He's playing almost the same angle on the right, but for some reason, as Lee pointed out, he's being a little more careful over here, and the result is he doesn't get out of the ball the way he wants to.
Looks like confidence on the left side, Fred. He comes out real good.
Lening on 3. Doesn't get there. Leaves the 2-pin. Didn't miss it by much. $250 bonus for 5 strikes in a row, and $50 additional for every strike on top of the 5. It's Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show. The world's greatest bowlers in action every week. From the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia. We have Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. They call him the Moose. And Big Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California. And the boys on the tour have nicknamed Bill Bananas. Plain Bananas. I think that nickname goes back to Bill's Detroit days. Seems to me we used to call him Bananas.
Yes, we did, Fred.
Well, Lening made just the slightest mistake here on the right side. He didn't quite get there for the shaker, so he'll have to start over. On 3, he was short for the 4th. Now the strike in the 7th. Bunetta in the 7th. There's the turn. There's the action he wanted. And he shakes up the 5-7.
He's a little happy with that one, Fred.
He still actually hasn't got up to the pocket here on the right side.
I think the reason they started calling him Bananas, Fred, was the fact that he once told one of the top bowlers that don't worry about the strikes. When they come, they'll come like bananas in bunches. You know, that's...
Well, Bananas and Bunetta, they both start with B, I believe. Oh, look at that. You'll notice one of Bill's trademarks. When he gets to the foul line, after he throws the ball, he puts both hands together and makes like a big chop. So this match practically even. Here's Lening in the 8th on a strike. Gets the double to take a 10-pin margin back. Bill tied it up with his turkey in the 8th. Lening came right back with a double. The margin is 10 pins. The boys go into the big 9th frame. Lening on 2. Bunetta is on 3. Here's a big strike for the Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania professional, Fred Lening. Gotta move it. He's short again. This time, a very simple spare. The 2 and the 4. Don't see this one too often. Usually kick the 4 out and leave the 2-5.
Generally, the boys have been coming up a little bit too high, a little too tight, leaving the 4, but not very often the 2-4.
That's the spare for Lening, and now Bill Bunetta has the chance here. A strike will put him out in front. Big Bill can go all the way for 248. Solid 10-pin. Man, you can't put him in any tighter than that. That's the first time that Bunetta's been in here on the right side that tight.
The first one that solid, yes, and that cost him 2. Generally, when he gets a strike on the right side, he's almost due for a turkey because he's hitting that left very well.
Cross lane, Bunetta's 3rd 10-pin in this, the first game of 3. The cover and the action. Bill has accomplished what few bowlers have accomplished on television. He shot .805 for 3 games on television in New York in 1961. On the winter tour, he averaged .206, won over $7,000. In the 10th. This time the soft 10-pin, the 4th 10-pin for Bunetta here in the first game. That looked like the 2 10-pins he had in the 2nd and 3rd frame.
Sure did, Fred. I don't know whether most people know it, Fred. Bill is a pretty well-educated boy. He's a thinker, too. Sometimes he really outthinks himself. This happens. Might have to explain that a little later, though.
Well, there's the cover. Bunetta with a very strong 216 with a full count. 4 10-pins. 4 strikes. He was short twice, the 2-4-5, and he missed the head pin in the 5th. Bill Bunetta, former Detroiter. Now from Fresno, California. In again. So Bill got the 5 strikes, but he didn't get them in a row, so the bonus money now has slipped past Mr. Bunetta here in the first game. Lening only has room for 3. He had a turkey. Chance here for 236. Solid 10. Well, you can't hit him any better than that.
It's a couple of them like that, Fred, but both boys have a nice, clean game. Looks like a real good match starting.
Both these fellas were winners in their first appearance. Lening defeated Bill Johnson 648 to 617. Bunetta beat Lindy Faragelli 625 to 584. There's the first open of the match. Bunetta 216, Lening 214. We'll be back for the second game of 3 here on Championship Bowling from Parkersburg, West Virginia. Fred Wolf along with Lee Juglard. Stand by. Something's coming.
Here are the scores for the first game. Fred Lening missing the 10-pin in the 10th frame, cutting him off at 214. Bill Bunetta the winner by 2 pins. Bunetta with 216. Both boys with 5 strikes. We're expecting a lot here in the second game. How about Parkersburg? You expecting?
Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California, out in front. The margin 2 pins, 216, 214. Bill lets it fly, looks good, and look at that action. Bunetta with a very strong first game, shooting at 4 10-pins. He had 5 strikes, caught 3 of them in a row. Lening with a triple and a double, but of course the 10-pin miss in the 10th on a solid hit cut him down at 214. Got to move. He's there. Both boys are off and away. Oh, we've seen a great start here. 2 good, solid hits, Lee.
Fred, you notice how these boys stay right at the foul line. The angle that they have to play on the lanes right now doesn't give them all the confidence in the world. They stay there and watch the pins go down rather than run them out.
Well, Bill sat in with us, and he come up with the phrase that the boys now are all using the obtuse angle. And if you can explain that to me, being a professional bowler, the obtuse angle, what does Bill mean? That's the deep inside idea, I presume.
The deep inside, but like I say, Bill is a thinker. I better let him come back and explain that, because I've never used that one.
Third diamond, he's too high, 4 pin. He was a little to the inside of the third diamond. In fact, both boys hitting the third diamond, actually. Lening a little slower, giving the ball just a little more room. He's a little bit farther left than Bill, but actually, they hit that third diamond on both lanes. That must be what Bill means when he talks about the obtuse angle that the boys go.
Probably is, Fred. That's not a real common angle for either boy, and that's one of the reasons it's hard to have a lot of confidence when you have to play that deep.
Well, you've got to have the strong ball, that's for sure, and of course using brand new AMF tournament grade pins, the lanes reconditioned, they just don't move too much. You got to be on the ball. Mr. Bunetta back in there with a beautiful solid hit. 20-40 strike, a 4-pin in between. Lening got his double. Fred now can add to his margin. He's taken an 8-pin lead with his double. We're in the 3rd frame of the second game. That will never make it. Freddie knew he had that one out there where it shouldn't be.
It's easy to happen when you're that far inside. Just one board too many and it just won't come back. Do you notice those tiny steps that Fred takes, Fred?
Yes, he's up at the 12. In fact, he's inside of the 12-foot mark. Very short. 1, 2, 4. He covers. Fred is one of the few boys, few professional bowlers born in Europe. He was born in Dortmund, Germany. Came to the States when he was just a couple of years old. And he likes to tell you he can still remember it. He says he came over on the SS George Washington. Now, he must have a pretty good memory. Once, too high, broke it up. Nothing but the 6-pin. You talk to this fella, he's very modest. He'll tell you that he doesn't know why he's such a good bowler in so few years. In fact, he's quite surprised that they even asked him to appear on championship bowling. And when you look at his performances, you got to acknowledge the fact that this fella knows what he's doing. A 6-pin, he covered.
He's got a good record, Fred. I know a lot of boys envy him.
And he won the 1962 Empire State Open on the PBA Tour. So he knows how to handle himself. Bunetta is on a strike for the double. He got it. I don't know, Lee. I don't think Bill was too confident with that one.
He's happy with it. Let's put it that way.
Result? Yeah. Fine. He seemed to sort of nudge that one over the foul line a bit. Bill up to the AMF Magic Circle ball return. Very handy little thing to pick up your bowling ball. There's a third one. So Bill hasn't made a mistake this game. As a matter of fact, as we look back on his score, he missed a head pin in the 5th frame of the first game. He followed with 3, then 2 10 pins, a strike on his final ball in the 10th. He's had every ball in the pocket this game. Lening, right back. So we are at the end of 5. We are halfway in this match. Lening is 86 in the 4th. He has the strike in the 5th. Bunetta is 40 in the 2nd. He works on 3. We're in the 6th, the 2nd game, and Mr. Lening does not get there. Way out, the 1-2-4-10 called the washout. A pretty tough thing to handle. This is not a split, but believe me, it's as tough as some of the splits are. Lee, I think you'll agree with that.
Yes, it is, Fred. Sometimes you wonder why it isn't made a split, because it's a little more difficult than several of the splits they have on record.
Well, the AMF Sparemaker says between the 1 and the 2, but Freddie got too much of the head pin. He is open. This gives Bunetta the chance to really make the big move. Bill is on 3. In his turn on the lanes now, 2 frames. Bill will be going for bonus money if he can get this one. 6th frame, 2nd game. Bunetta had 625 in his first appearance. He needs that one. Oh, what a line drive that was. Now, let's see what Mr. Bunetta can do as he moves left. Bill did not cash in the bonus department in his first appearance. He finished with a 222 game. He did have 4 in a row, but couldn't get the 5th one. Let's see what he does this week. 4 in a row. This is Bill's favorite side. He's got that thumb at about 1 o'clock. Here, boy. 8-10. Snake eyes. Well, he really tried to fit that one, didn't he?
Yes,
There was
he
nothing
did,
on that one.
Fred, and this is one of the things I might mention about Bill. I've known him for so long, and he will watch his thumb, he'll watch his angle, he'll watch his speed, sometimes rather than really throwing that ball in there like he knows how to do.
Well, there's a bad break for Bill Bunetta, trying for the bonus money, the 8-10. It was a pocket hit. You have to give him that, but there wasn't much there when the ball hit the pin. So Bunetta is open in the 7th with 156. Ten pin for Mr. Lening here in the 7th frame. Fred got that one up there, but sort of the in-betweener that is very hard to carry. Lee, don't you feel that in-betweener kind of, well, here's a man throwing the ball in the pocket. If he was a little on the short side, he could shake them. If he was solid, he could carry.
That's right, a half inch either way, and he would carry those strikes.
Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Bill Bunetta out in front. 39 pins through the 6th frame. Bill is open in the 7th. The margin, about 29 pins. We're in the 8th frame. Both boys have room for 5 strikes in a row. Bunetta had a chance. First 4, then the 8-10 in this game. A lot of action there, and the 7 pin is standing. What's the 2 pins right in front of the 7?
Well, I would say probably the 2 and the 5. I wasn't watching it real close, Fred, but it looked like the 2 and the 5. Were you watching?
Well, it looked like possibly the 4 even fell in front there. There was an awful lot of action on the left corner, but that 7's still there. There's the cover. So Bill Bunetta now move in on the right side. Bill hasn't been out of this pocket now for better than a game. He started in the 6th frame of the 2nd game. Caught a triple, then 2 10 pins, opened this game with a strike, then a 4 pin, then a 4-bagger, then an 8-10. And he's still in there, and there's another 8-10, and that's 2 in a row, and that's some kind of a record. As Bill turned around, it's the first time here on Championship Bowling at the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia, that we have had 2 8-10s in succession. As a matter of fact, Bill's 8-10 in the 7th frame was the first 8-10 of the entire series. And now with 2 in a row, Bill gave us the nod and set another new record.
This is pretty remarkable for Bill, because he's known for throwing one of the strongest balls on the whole PBA tour. But I think due to these, the angle that they have to play, that he's cutting down his lift a little bit.
He always takes a look at his thumb position. Well, we certainly got to credit him with one fact, Lee, and that is you don't get the 8-10 without putting the ball in the 1-3 pocket. So Bill has not been out of the pocket now for almost a game and a half, and he doesn't have too much to show. Here's Lening in the 9. Kicks the 10. That was the soft 10-pin lead, but Fred got a little cooperation there from the 6-pin, and he has a strike to work on. So going into the 10th, Lening, 151 strike, Bunetta, 165 strike. The margin, 14 pins. Bunetta had 2 pins to work on in the first game. The margin is 16. Both boys on strikes. Good lift. Oh, there's a solid 10. And the wiggle and the wobble and the AMF automatic pin spotter will put that 10-pin right back off spot, which, of course, is an American Bowling Congress requirement, and that AMF pin spotter does it so remarkably well. A mechanical wonder. The 10-pin this time he covers. Fred missed a 10-pin at the 10th frame of the first game, so that 10-pin certainly hasn't helped Lening either.
Sometimes I wonder about this true tap in the bowling game, Fred. I've heard it said that the 8-pin is the only pin. Sometimes I have to disagree with that.
Well, I'm glad somebody is disagreeing, because I don't quite go along with it myself. Hurry up. Well, Freddie a little careless there, but he got 9 pins out of it. For 190, Fred Lening, who potentially going in with 648, had to be reckoned with as making the finals. Another big 600 would certainly put him in position, but he has had 10-pin problems. And Bill Bunetta with 625 certainly had a chance. No 8-10. And Bill putting on the act as much as to say that maybe the ball would bounce back off the pins there and he'd have another 8-10. If you're watching this game or paying much attention, and I'm sure Lee Juglard, who is sitting in with us this week, has got to go. This fella has thrown 10 straight in the pocket.
Yes, he has, Fred. I've noticed, though, that he isn't getting that ball out as far as he generally does.
Another one? How about that? Well, we again go back. He finished the second game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with 6 pocket hits. He had a triple and 2 tens, a full continent 10. So that's 6. He's now had 11 in the pocket this game. That's 17 balls in a row that big Bill Bunetta from Fresno, California, has put right in the 1-3 pocket. There's one a little high. That's about the only one he had out of there, counting 9. And a good finish. 224 against Fred Lening's 190. We'll be back for the big game, number 3. $1,000 goes to the winner. This is championship bowling from the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Fred Wolf, along with Lee Juglard, standing by for the third game.
Here are the scores at the end of 2 games. Fred Lening, 214 and 190, a total of 404. For Bill Bunetta, 216, 2 8-10 splits, and 224. His total, 440. The margin, 36 pins. Are you enjoying this match up to now? All right. Before we start the third and final game, we can't help but notice here in Parkersburg, as well as all around the country, the tremendous interest that bowling seems to have for teenagers. And there's a young teenager here this week watching the show, a young lady. I'm going to call her out here, Miss Kathy Collette, and talk about teenage bowling in the area here. Come on out, Kathy. Kathy Collette from Parkersburg. One of your young ladies. Kathy, I understand you are a bowler.
Yes, sir, I am.
And you enjoy the game very much.
Very much.
Now, suppose you tell the folks why you enjoy bowling as much as you do.
Well, it's interesting. You meet so many different types of people, and it's really a lot of fun. And what's really fun is when you can go on a date and beat your boyfriend.
Oh, you really like to do that?
Yes, sir.
Do you beat your boyfriend very often?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Now, what about teenagers that do not bowl? Would you sort of tell them there's nothing to worry about? You don't need a lot of equipment. The proprietor has it.
And you think it's good for kids to get out and be competitive?
I really do. I've been bowling for quite a while, and I know there are a lot of kids that I know that didn't like bowling, and we've tried to urge them to come out, and once they get here, you can't hardly get them away. They really find out that it's enjoyable, and they just bowl all the time now.
Isn't that marvelous? I understand that you did something a little special with your bowling ability. Didn't you win some junior tournament here at Emerson Lanes?
Yes, sir, I did. 3 weeks ago, I won the roll-off to go to Huntington and bowl to get a chance to go to Washington and compete for a scholarship.
And what happened in Huntington?
Well, I didn't do too good, but I came in around second.
Around second?
About second.
Well, that's pretty good. Well, I'm sure that the president was disappointed that you couldn't come up and see him. Possibly next year you can make it.
I'm sure going to try.
The way you've accepted bowling, I'm sure that every teenager in the country would feel the same way about it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Kathy Collette, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we'll get into the third game in just a moment. Bill Bunetta now with 224, his total 440 for two. Fred Lening, his second game 190, his total 404. Ready for game number 3. It'll be Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, starting the third game on the left side. He trails by 36 pins. He's in, starts off with a big strike. Bill Bunetta trying to protect that 36 pins. Bill, with a very strong 224 in his second game, had every ball in the pocket except the final ball in the 10th frame. 2 8-10 splits mixed up between 8 strikes. Bunetta on the right. The big turn, sets one, he's there, and he carries. Lee Juklard, the doctor. We call him the bowling doctor, a great instructor over these years. We've known Lee for so many years, studying these two styles. We have 9 frames to go. Lee, how does this match look to you right now?
Well, anything can happen because on these lanes, as this show's been going, anybody can crop up with 5 or 6 in a row. Ooh.
Solid 10. You just can't string them out. Well, Bill says another $10,000 gone. He lost his strike in the second frame. This is all sanctioned competition, sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. These lanes have been resurfaced. They're conditioned for every match, every week. We don't make it too easy for them. And Bill has the spare in the second frame. It's a bad break for Bunetta, but a break for Lening, as he's thinking of the $1,000. With a double here, he can cut that margin down to 26 pins. The Moose from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. Good reach, but too high. The 6-10. He seemed to be with that ball a little too long.
He stayed with it real well, but he just didn't get it out quite far enough. I think if you'll notice from now on, Fred, Bill will reach out there with that ball real well. He seems a little looser right now, a little freer.
Fred Lening, cross lane, 6-10. Ball between the 2 pins. Nice cover. Lening turned in a sanctioned 300 score in one of the Professional Bowling Association's tour events in 1963 in the New Jersey Open. In 1962, he was named the Metropolitan New York Bowler of the Year. And that's quite an honor. Was a finalist in the National All-Star in Miami Beach in 62, just like that. So Lening, who made the mistake on the right side, got away with it for the spare. Bunetta still holds on to 36 pins. We're in the third frame. Bill to the extreme left side of the approach, takes a look down for his thumb position. It's at 1 o'clock. He throws, he's up, he's in, he carries. Lee, you were remarking that in all the years you've watched Bill, and of course you spending a good many years in Detroit, which is my hometown, and Bill spent many years in Detroit, you have never seen this latest little maneuver where Bill looks down and checks his thumb position, like right now.
No, I sure haven't. This was an oddity to me because he certainly had never done that before.
Too tight. 4-7.
Well, as I mentioned before, Fred, I think I better clarify it. I said that Bill was a thinker, and by that I mean he's always trying to stay one step ahead of himself by playing the lanes or getting the ball out over the foul line. And sometimes he just isn't quite as free as he would be ordinarily.
the 4, the 7, and Bunetta covers the spare. So both boys having their problems. And it's an interesting problem, too. Bunetta is striking on the left side, and Lening is striking on the right side. Correction. Just the reverse. Lening's not getting him on the right. That's the second time he's had the chance for the double on the right.
He over-adjusted a little bit there, Fred.
Yes, he was high in the second, short in the fourth. Like you say, sometimes maybe the bowlers think too much.
Amazing. Sometimes it's best to get up there and just wham that ball at the pocket.
There's the cover. Fred Lening. Fred has rolled 739 on television in 1960 in Minneapolis, and he put on quite a show in practice before airtime. He threw 28 consecutive strikes, 2 successive 300 games. Unofficial, of course. Hurry up. Oh, got a piece of the 7, but there are still 2 pins on the pin deck. Mr. Lening did not get his strike on the left side. Now we get into the situation that Lening probably will come back here on the right and get the strike. The fact that he moves to a lane on a strike is a lot different, isn't it, Lee, than when you're moving there on a spare?
Yes, it is. Makes quite a bit of difference.
So Big Bill moving right now, father of 4 fine young boys out there in Fresno, California. We've met these fine youngsters, Jimmy, Steve, Bill, and Ricky. Come on, Dad. 5 pin stops him. So Bunetta now has missed his favorite side. Lening has missed his favorite side. We're halfway in the third game. The margin's still 36 pins. Neither Bunetta nor Lening able to get the double.
Look for one of them to open up real soon with about 3, 4, 5 in a row, Fred.
At the 5 pin and the cover. So at the end of 5 in the third and final, it's 79 spare for both Lening and Bunetta. We're in the 6th, last half. Bunetta in, this time leaves the 10 pin. I saw that 8 pin up there, too.
Yes, I did. It was a little too good a ball for that, though.
Bunetta already with 2 8-10s, the first 2 8-10s here at Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Championship Bowling Television's #1 bowling show. The world's great stars in action week after week with over $75,000 in prizes. And here is Fred Moose Lening. Bowls out of Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, a bowling proprietor. Resides in Yardley, Pennsylvania, never known to smile while he bowls. There we go. Now, maybe Fred can break loose.
Better take it back. He's smiling a little bit right now.
He did
Fred.
smile a little on that one. Well, every time we mention something, the opposite will happen. But there's nothing wrong with encouraging a smile somewhere along the line. Lening now moves to the left. He trails by 35 pins. He's got a strike in the 6th. Let's see what he can do with it. Here she comes. Oh, look at that one. Grinding him out there. Lening with the big double. And now Mr. Bunetta must take care of the situation. We'll have to match it. Dropped it. And he was lucky to get out with a 4 pin.
Yes, he was.
Bunetta was the captain of the 1963 American Bowling Congress Team Classic Champions in Buffalo, New York, a team called the California Bombers. And Bomber Bunetta covers the 4 pin and now moves to the left. In the 8th for Bunetta, and he has a strike, which he just may need, because Fred Lening now trailing by only 25 pins with his 2 turns on the lanes. If he can turn in 2 strikes here, he can force Mr. Bunetta to get a strike in the 9th. Fred Lening, a great athlete, semi-pro baseball player, football player, #3. And I'm looking. I didn't see Fred smile that time. I believe he felt he earned that one.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're watching that score pretty closely, too, to see just how many frames they have left, because that 5 in a row is still on their mind also.
They both
have room.
Both have room, and the big 9th frame, all the boys tell you, if there's any strike, any frame in a game, you should get the strike. It's right here. And Lening would like one to go with the 3. Scott, he's in and he carries, and that's number 4. And now the margin is just about 5 pins. Lening has picked them all up. Bunetta will finish first. 10 pins stops him. The margin now only 5 pins. So if Bunetta covers this, if he can double in the 10th, he can force Lening to get another one. Lening on 4. He's looking for that $250 bonus money.
Puts a lot of pressure on Fred, doesn't it?
Be careful. Well, Bill turned to the audience and wanted to know what was the matter. Well, Lee Juglard and myself, believe me, could tell him what was the matter. That ball was on its way off the lane, and it just touched the 10 pin. The ball actually was off the lane by the time it got into the pin receptacle. Mr. Bill Bunetta in the 10th, looking for a strike. He's there, and he leaves the 5 pin. Mr. Lening will need 1 strike to win this match. 1 strike for $1,000. 1 strike for $250. 2 strikes for $300. 3 strikes for $350. So Mr. Bunetta is going to have to sit and watch. At the 5 and the cover, the count will give Bunetta 197 without a double. Pretty strong game, actually, losing only 3 pins in counts. Bunetta will check in with 637. Lening has a chance for 249 if he can go all the way. Bunetta throws, and almost another 8-10. Leaves the 8. So here's a very expensive little bit of talent to be applied here. Fred Lening, this strike will give him $1,250. The $1,000 which goes to the winner, the 5th strike for bonus money. Too high, the 7-10, and Bill Bunetta will win the match sitting on the bench.
See, that's too bad. You know, Bill, I've pulled a lot of match games with Bill, and he's always said that he never likes that match to get out of his hands, which he was for a time, I'll tell you.
Well, Freddie just throwing an easy hook there at the 7, taking 1. And Bunetta gave him all the room in the world, and the bonus money has slipped both of these 2 great stars here this week. I want to thank Lee Juglard for sitting in with us this week. This is Fred Wolf. We'll have a word or two with these 2 fine stars. Be right back in just a moment.
Here are the final results for Fred Lening, 214, 190, and 215 without that 10th frame. His total, 619. For Bill Bunetta, 216, 224, and 196. The total, 636. Bill Bunetta, the winner, for 6 games. Fred Lening, 1267. Bill Bunetta, 1261. Let's call out the runner-up. Fred Lening, Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania. We just about had everything going on that last ball, didn't we? Your 5th strike for the bonus.
It was a must strike for
needed
everything.
A strike to win the match. We saw 1 pin on each corner. How could that happen?
Oh, it was very easy. You throw a ball of that kind, you're apt to leave it.
Now tell me what happened. Why did you throw it like that?
Well, the few strikes I had gotten on 38, they were all light, and I just barely shook them over a couple of times, and I wanted to go to my high hard one.
Your high hard one.
I went high, but not hard.
You should have had Bill throw it if you wanted a high hard one.
Uh-huh.
Well, the 7-10, that's about as difficult as you can get. It was really a clutch strike, but we'll have to say that you still come out of this thing pretty good with 619 and a total of 1267 for 6 games as the runner-up. Fred, you were the winner of your first match. You can't win them all, as they say. There's $500.
Oh, thank you, and I'll try again.
Good luck. Like to have you return on Championship Bowling.
It'd be my pleasure.
Thank you. Fred Lening, ladies and gentlemen, one of our great stars. Good luck to you, Fred. Well, when there's a loser, there's a winner. Let's call him out. Big Bill 810 Bunetta. I'll give you the $1,000 right away. Put it away. This bonus money, which neither of you could handle, I'll put this away.
I set a record, didn't I?
You did, Bill. You set a record, the first 810 and the second 810 in succession. You set another record, too. You had 9 10-pins in this match today. 2 of them, of course, had company with the 8. Now, tell me, how do you throw an 8-10 split?
Well, during the practice session, Fred, this week, I found that I couldn't maintain a line, so I decided today my job would be to hit the pocket. And you may recall, although I wasn't solid, I hit the pocket every time, either a little high, a little light, or solid. But in order to hit the pocket, I had to take a little bit of the stuff off, as became apparent in a couple of those frames.
Yes.
And I reached out a little too far. Actually, I couldn't get the fingers to lift the ball.
Well, now, Lee Juglard, who has known you probably almost as many years as I have, noticed a little thing that you are doing. I wonder how long you've been doing it. When you get ready to start, you take a look down at the position of your thumb in the ball. Is this what you're looking at, your thumb, actually?
Yes, Fred. I found that when my thumb turns over counterclockwise, although I think I'm hitting my intended line, I pull inside my target. As a consequence, I hit the nose a little too often. May I demonstrate?
We want to see it. Maybe I can learn something. Get my average back up to 150. What is the theory on the position of the thumb in the ball? You talk about 1 o'clock.
Yes, all right. Let's call straight up in the clock, of course, 12 o'clock for right-handers, for anybody, actually. 1 o'clock is over here.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to put my fingers in first and my thumb over to the right.
Turn around a little bit so we can get a look at it.
Over to the right. And the reason I look down, Fred, is to make sure that my thumb is where I want it. If I catch it over here, in other words, if I see this finger, I decide I haven't done it enough, so I push the ball over.
In other words, you don't want to see this finger. That's
Right.
why you look down.
Right.
If you don't see your finger, you know your thumb is over far enough at 1 o'clock.
Right over.
Well, now, on these 8-10s, what was the matter there? You went to 1:30 or something?
About 1:32.
Or 1:45.
That was just about it, Fred.
Bill, thank you very much. That's something for you bowlers to try the next time out. Get the thumb at 1 o'clock, but don't let it go till 1:30, or you're going to have trouble. Thanks a lot.
Right.
Bill Bunetta, Fresno, California. Don't go away, because we're going to have something very interesting for you. Well, we've asked Bill Bunetta to join us again here, one of the real great instructors on the AMF staff of champions. And Bill, we keep talking about thumb positions, and we get a little technical. Why don't you pass along a few words, let's say, to the non-bowlers? Let's say these are people that might be, they feel they'll be very embarrassed if they would go into their neighborhood bowling center and want to bowl. So how about some fundamentals for a change? Down-to-earth fundamentals for the non-bowler. I'll give the mic to you.
Thank you, Fred. I'd suggest that all those who are interested in becoming bowlers come down to the establishment, talk to the counter control man, and you'll find that he'll help you select the bowling ball. Now, those of you who are interested or perhaps worried about how are you going to maintain any control, perhaps you may be embarrassed to try it the first time, but it isn't difficult. The thumb in general is a direction finder. If you'll take your ball, put your fingers in first, your thumb in last, keep your thumb up at 12 o'clock, swing right straight back, straight forward, and let go, that ball should go relatively straight with the boards. This is the ball with which you should stick. If you see these fellows on television throw the big curves, the hooks like Salviner or perhaps myself, stay away from this type of ball. We advise you first to master your approach. Your approach from your starting point to the foul line, including the release, is very important. But work on that hand action first. Beginners, thumb up, 12 o'clock, straight back, straight forward, and let go.
Thank you very much. Bill Bunetta, ladies and gentlemen, a fine instructor. See you again, Bill.
Repeating the scores, Fred Lening from Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, 619. Bill Bunetta, the winner, with 636. Hope you can join us again next week when Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show with over $75,000 in prizes, will again originate here at the beautiful Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Until then, this is Fred Wolf, just saying keep 'em bowling out there. Matching shirts and slacks used on Championship Bowling by King Louie. Championship Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, and we wish to thank AMF for their cooperation in helping us to produce Championship Bowling.